Hello and welcome. We'll just be waiting for maybe a couple more minutes to see if we can get more people to join the webinar. And we'll be starting the recording. Welcome everybody. While we're waiting, if you want to grab your drink or snack or whatever it is that you would like to have with you during this time, you still have about a minute or so before we'll begin. So glad to see everybody joining. Just give it about another minute and then we'll go ahead and begin. Okay. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and start. We want to welcome you to our webinar, Waterworks Joining DWA's Team. Hopefully this will give you some information on how to join Desert Water Agency if you're looking for that type of employment, or actually also some tips on employment and what is needed to possibly join another water agency as well. We are so glad that we're able to connect with these webinars. As I'm sure most of you know, our agency has been closed to the public, so we're unable to do a lot of these things in person and see a lot of people, you know, where we would be at events and be giving out information that we have been providing in these webinars. So this is a great way for us to connect, and we really want to thank all of you who are able to join us and who have wanted to join us. So just to let you know who I am, I'm Vicky Paddock. I'm the Outreach and Conservation Associate at Desert Water Agency. Just to kind of go through a few things about the Zoom webinar, if you're new to it or not, you are in listen only mode. So you're muted and no one can see your face or your camera. So basically you'll only be hearing. So if you do have any questions, you can issue those questions in the chat. And that chat, also the Q&A, should be right towards the bottom. If you kind of move your mouse, the arrow on your mouse or cursor, that information bar should pop up at the bottom and you'll see Q&A or chat. You can place those questions in Q&A or chat, and we will, if it's something we can kind of tackle during the webinar, we'll try to, but most questions will be held to the end. And if you have any specific questions for any of our speakers or presenters, please put them in there as well. We are recording this live on Facebook, so you can join through Facebook and you can watch it through there. And then also we are recording it for ourselves, so the copy of this will be available on our website, and you can go get to it through the dwa.org/virtual, and you'll be able to see it through there. So to get started, I'm going to introduce Sochi Pena. She's part of our outreach and conservation team, and she will be kicking this off with our welcome poll. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you towards the end.
Thank you, Vicky. Yes, hi everyone. Like Vicky said, I am Sochi Pena, and I am an outreach specialist at Desert Water Agency. I work closely with Vicky. I am glad that everyone decided to join us to learn a little bit more about jobs at Desert Water Agency. And like Vicky said, we like to kick off our webinars with a little welcome poll. So let me launch the poll here. There you go. It's just a few questions to get us started. I think you guys can all see that, right? Those of you on Zoom should be able to see the questions. And if you could go ahead and provide your answers there. Now, if you're watching on Facebook Live or rewatching this on YouTube, you won't be able to see the poll question. So don't think there's something wrong with the screen. But yeah, so looks like you guys are starting to submit your answers there. I'll give everyone maybe about 15 more seconds to answer those questions. We just want to know, how would you describe yourself? Are you a student? Do you work in another industry or field? Okay, and then the second question are you currently employed and looking for a job? Are you planning for the future? Are you not currently employed and looking? And then the third question we have there is, have you ever applied for a job at DWA or maybe another water agency? Okay, I will end the poll here and share the results. Let's see here. Okay, so okay, we have a number of people are currently not employed and looking, which is I'm sure why you're here, wanting to learn more about Desert Water Agency. And then okay, it looks like a number of you guys have also applied for a government job, and also a couple filled out the interest form that we have on our website. Okay, well, thank you everyone for taking our welcome poll. We just like to know a little bit more about who our audience is. So thank you for that. And, obviously you guys are all here because you want to learn about careers in water, specifically at Desert Water Agency. So let's go ahead and get started. And let's hear from our first speaker today. Steve Johnson. Yeah, I'm happy to introduce him. He is our Assistant General Manager at Desert Water Agency. And yeah, he was hired in 1995 as an assistant engineer, and he became Assistant General Manager in 2016. And so he's here today to kind of shed some light on Desert Water Agency and to also let you know what kind of employees the agency are looking for. So if you want to go ahead and take it away, Steve.
Righty. Thank you, Sochi, for that introduction. Now, before we get into how someone can join our team at DWA, I'd like to provide a little background information on the agency. The agency was formed back in 1961 as a special district with the primary goal of importing and managing water in the western part of Coachella Valley. The agency is not only able to import water, we also are the water utility for the city of Palm Springs and a portion of Cathedral City. We provide domestic or potable water to our customers. And in 1988, the agency began delivering treated sewage water or recycled water for irrigation purposes to some of the golf courses in parks in the city of Palm Springs. The agency also provides some sewer collection services within the city of Cathedral City, in the downtown and the Cove area. And we currently have 82 employees. We have about 23,000 water service connections in our system and serve a population of roughly 90,000 full-time and part-time residents. And last year, we delivered approximately 29,000 acre-feet of water, which is about 9.5 billion gallons. Our service boundary is 325 square miles, which you can see here on the map. It's outlined in blue. And it covers a wide area. It includes Palm Springs, parts of Cathedral City, Desert Hot Springs, and unincorporated areas such as Palm Oasis or Pinyon Pines. We do not provide potable water service for the entire area, but we are responsible for managing the water supply within the boundary. And with that, let's now discuss what we, or at least what I, would look for when hiring someone at the agency. It all starts with the resume. You know, this is your time to make that great first impression, to tell us your story. Tell us why we should consider hiring you for a position at the agency. Some people find a cover letter is not necessary, but I think a cover letter is very important. It allows you to introduce yourself, explain why you're interested in working at the agency, and most importantly, it demonstrates what type of written and communication skills you have. I recommend creating a cover letter that is specific to the job posted at the agency, not a generic letter that could be sent out for any job. Your resume should be neat, should be well organized, and easy to read. It should have accurate information. As I said earlier, your resume, it's your time to make a great first impression. And for me, having inaccurate information conveys a message of dishonesty that this person is someone that we can't trust. Now, although having typo errors is not a total disqualifier for me, when I see typo errors on a resume or cover letter, I immediately think that this individual is not detail-oriented. You know, proofreading a letter and resume, it doesn't take much time, and it's well worth it. I recommend having someone else, someone that you trust, proofread your documents. You know, you'll be amazed at what a fresh pair of eyes may discover. And finally, remember, stay positive. It can be discouraging sending out numerous resumes and not hearing back from anyone. I remember when I was getting ready for graduating college, I sent out numerous resumes out to several engineering firms and water agencies, to include DWA. And I only heard back from 2 companies, and DWA was not one of them. And almost 2 years after sending my resume to the agency, I was contacted by the general manager, and he asked if I was still interested in working at the agency. Of course, I said yes. I interviewed and I was hired as an assistant engineer. And it's hard to believe that that was over 25 years ago. So, you know, don't get discouraged. Think positively. Now let's talk about what I look for when interviewing someone and hiring at the agency. I'll look for someone that has long-term potential, someone that appears to want a career at the agency. When I hear someone tell me that they can see themselves retiring at the agency, that gets my attention. I value someone who is a good communicator, someone that provides more than 1 or 2 sentence answers in an interview, someone that provides details. For example, if we ask someone to describe one of their strengths, I'd like to hear them tell me what that strength is and why they consider it a strength. If you think a strength is being dependable, tell me why. Don't just say, I'm dependable. The agency strives for all of our employees to work as one team, not individual departments. That is why I look for people that say teamwork is important to them. I want to hire someone who's excited and enthusiastic about working for the agency. Someone that's interested in the job and how they can help the agency. And lastly, I look for people that are good listeners, someone that listens to questions during the interview and provides a thoughtful, well-constructed answer that actually addresses what was asked. And I know that there are many more traits that people look for when interviewing someone, but for me, the 5 items I discussed today are on the top of my list. And with that, I'd like to thank you for listening. And I hope to see some of you one day at an interview with the agency. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Steve. A lot of great tips there. If anyone has questions for Steve, please put them in the Q&A, and we will answer all of the questions at the very end of all the presentations. So yeah, so now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Chris Hopping. Here, let me get her slide up there. Yeah, she is our Human Resources Director at Desert Water Agency. And she's been there for close to 3 years. And before that, she was at the at Coachella Valley Water District for 19 years. And she will be joining us to discuss the application process and, the type of jobs at Desert Water Agency and benefits. So with that, I introduce Chris. Take it away.
Thank you, Sochi. Appreciate that. Good introduction. And I thank you for Steve for starting me off here on what we look for here at Desert Water Agency. We could go to the next slide, please. There we go. Okay, so the first question is, why would you want to work in water? And the important thing to remember when you're looking for a position is it has to be something that you care about, because you're going to spend a lot of time with your coworkers and in your job. So you want to help your community. Working in water is a great way to do that. It's a long-term stable employment. We really work every day to make sure everybody in our community is safe and has good, reliable drinking water. Along those lines, we provide excellent pay, and we do that because we want the best workers. And we believe that they deserve to be paid for the effort and the work that they put in to make our community safe. We have a lot of room for advancement. We have a lot of different career paths you can take and different things you can do depending on what you feel like is your interest area. And again, we have wonderful, caring coworkers. A lot of our employees stay for very long time, which Steve is an example of. And so you really do get to know your coworkers very well, and that makes it a nice place to work. Some of the benefits we offer, we have CalPERS retirement, which is a state retirement system. We also offer deferred compensation plans. Those are where you take your money out pre-tax and put it in a savings account for when you retire. So you don't have to pay taxes on it while you're an employee. So it helps you save for your future. And it also helps you with Uncle Sam because those dollars are not taxable. We have medical, dental, and vision insurance for our staff members and for their families, which obviously is very important, especially with all the illnesses and COVID going around right now. It's important to know that our employees are taken care of in that area. Paid holidays and vacations and paid sick and personal time off. We do believe that a person needs to get rest, and if they're sick, they should stay home and use their sick leave. And if they need a vacation, we want them to have a vacation to rest and refresh. So we offer those benefits to our employees. Some of our different career paths, we have employees in all different areas, which you may not think of when you think of a career in water. So in order to make a water agency work, we have people working in accounting, customer service, or as we now call it, field services, construction, engineering, information technology, science. We have a water lab, human resources, of course, what I do, communications and outreach, which Sochi and Vicky do, and a whole lot more. And the great thing is once you get on board, we advertise our positions, our open positions only to internal candidates generally before we put it to outside candidates. So we do like to promote from within wherever possible. So for minimum qualifications, so for entry-level positions, usually we're looking at a water service worker 1 type position, or our receptionist, telephone operator type positions. Those require at least a high school diploma or GED. You have to be at least 18 years old, and you have to have a driver's license with a good driving record. So you have to make sure that you're insurable on our vehicle insurance carrier. So sometimes people have a recent DUI or a failure to appear on those records, and we can't insure you on our carrier if you have that. So if you have that situation, get that cleared up as soon as possible. And we also do pre-employment background checks to check for criminal convictions. And we also do drug tests and a physical. So just to be aware of that as well. For advanced type positions, for our staff engineers, human resources, most of our supervisory management positions where they may require a college degree. Working as a supervisor and anybody that touches the water, you're gonna have to have advanced certifications in water distribution and water treatment and years, excuse me, years of experience in the field. Because we want to have people in those positions have to be able to lead other people and show them how to do certain tasks. And that does require just time on the job and learning how to do the skills. Requirements for all positions. I know Steve hit on this a little bit, but the big things that we look for are a good attitude, being willing to learn, and wanting to help the community. Those are really important things. Our water service workers, they'll get called out at all hours of the night if there's a leak, if there's a line break, or if a backflow is stolen or a fire hydrant gets hit. And so you have to have a desire to help the community and be willing to do those types of tasks in order to come out and help us. And we want our whole team to work together well. So we want to make sure that everybody is on board and everybody's willing to do what it takes to help our community. So a lot of people want to know how you find out if we have openings. Now at Desert Water Agency, we're very fortunate that we don't have a lot of turnover. Most of our turnover is when people retire or get promoted. So the best way to find out what positions we have open is to go on our website. So we post them on our website. The link is here listed. You can just go to dwa.org and you can find the careers page. And we do put all of our job descriptions online as well. So you can look at the job descriptions on the positions you're interested in, see what their qualifications are, what we're looking for. And that's a really good way to do a lot of research to make sure you meet the minimum qualifications. And if there's a position that you're interested in and there's a certification or something that you don't currently have, you can start working on it before the position's even posted. And if you decide that you want to apply for certain positions in construction or field services, or if you want to work in accounting, we actually have a job interest form that's also on our website, which you can see on the slide, and you can sign up for an alert. So what you do is you put your information in, you put in that you want to be interested in job openings and what types. And then what I do is I take that list, and when I post an open position, I send you an email. So make sure that your email address is current on that list. If you get a new email address, just sign up with your new address, just to make sure that you get that alert. Most of our positions do close pretty quickly once they're on the website. I usually close them when we have enough positions, like usually a certified position or a position that requires a degree. Those are usually left open for a week or two on the website, depending on the response level. The entry-level positions are usually only left open for maybe 4 to 5 days on average, because once we get a certain number of applications, it's just too many to go through for our supervisors and myself. So I usually will pull those down without notice. So if you see a position that's open, make sure you apply right away. So here's some just tips and tricks here that I always say for people, and I know Steve covered a little bit of this already. First of all, we notify you by your email address. So make sure that you have a professional email address. just your name at Gmail or something similar to that. You don't want to have something unprofessional on there. It's not make or break, but it does, it sets the tone for your whole application. If you have an application says something like, I like to party at gmail.com or something like that, this is to help you get hired. So you can have a personal email address for your friends and family, but you probably want to have a professional one for trying to get hired at any place. Make sure your resume is ready to go and that you have your cover letter started. As Steve said, cover letters really should be specific to the position you're applying for, but your resume is your resume. So you should get that on there. I don't think you need to use any fancy format. There's general ones available in Word for free. Just use a simple resume format with a simple font. A lot of times people try to get fancy with it. And sometimes when you upload those to different websites, it doesn't upload correctly if you have different margins and fonts and things, and it ends up looking really funky when I try to look at your information. So if you try to just use a basic resume format, and as long as you're careful with it, use a standard format and font and spell check it and have somebody look it over for you, you should be fine. And I recommend that you save it in a PDF form, because when those upload, those generally upload perfectly. Sometimes when you upload it in a Word format or WordPerfect, sometimes the margins get really messed up. Apply as soon as you can when you see the position posted. Like I said, once I get enough applications, I'll pull it. The last time I had a water service worker one, after about 4 to 5 days, I had, I think, 350 applications on there. So that's when I closed it. So just be aware that the sooner you get it in, at least then you'll know you'll be considered for the position. And after you hit submit, make sure you're checking your email. It's really important because that's how we contact everybody. We send you a notice via email. If you were selected for an interview, if you were not selected for an interview, if you were selected for a test. So you have to check that email. I don't call everybody with information on interviews. Those are all done by email. And then for the most important thing to remember is you should always be professional in your correspondence when you're talking on the phone or sending an email, because everybody you're come in contact with would be your coworker should you get hired. And it's really important to remember that first impressions matter. If somebody calls in and they're rude to the person answering the phone, then I know that that's somebody who might be rude to one of our customers in the field, and that's not acceptable. So if you're sending an email to me, if I'm sending you an email and you're responding to it, either be professional or don't send a response. It's just a good thing, good rule of thumb to never send an angry email. And just remember, you're always, every time you send a correspondence, that may be considered as part of your application. And we always follow the rule of we hire for attitude and we train for skill. We can train, we have supervisors here that can train anybody to do any skill that we need at the agency, as long as you have the basic understanding of the skills required. But if you come in with a bad attitude, we can't fix a bad attitude, and we don't want to wreck the good staff that we have now by bringing somebody in that is not a professional person. So that's my presentation. I hope to see some really good resumes coming in from you guys, and hopefully you'll sign up for our job alerts.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, a lot of good tips there. So I'm sure everyone appreciates that. So I would, oh, and again, if anyone has any questions for Chris, again, put them in the Q&A, and at the very end, we will, answer everyone's questions. So I would like to introduce our next and our last speaker. Vicky, you guys already met her. Vicky Paddock, she is the Outreach and Conservation Associate. So Vicky has worked at Desert Water Agency for 31 years. And I swear she looks exactly the same as the day she was hired. Yeah, so I work closely with Vicky. Together we make up the Outreach and Conservation Department. And Vicky will touch on having a lasting career in water. She's worked in almost every department, almost, not quite all.
Not all of them.
But yeah, she will, just kind of share her story of being at Desert Water Agency. So take it away, Vicky.
Thank you, Sochi, for that introduction. Yes, as I introduced myself, I'm Vicky Paddock. I'm the Outreach and Conservation associate currently at Desert Water. So my current capacity is overseeing most of DWA's incentive programs or conservation programs. Just to give those a little plug. Always good for conservation mindedness on your property, in your home. So chances are, if you have applied for something recently, you've either seen me or talked to me. So I'm the person who usually runs those programs, as well as just working with customers in general on water conservation, and also doing outreach when we were doing events, doing a lot of outreach at events, on the phone with customers a lot, meeting with customers a lot. So that is my current capacity. But as Sochi mentioned, yes, I have been at the agency for 31 years. I am starting on my 32nd year, going probably in about 6 months. I started my 32nd year. So humble beginnings. Yes, I was hired right out of high school. I graduated in June of 1989, and I was working at Desert Water Agency in July of 1989. So, it was a entry-level position. I found out that they were hiring for a telephone operator and started in the position. And the telephone operator position was in the accounting department. So actually that kind of gave me a footing to actually learn something that I really didn't anticipate, being a career path for myself, but did turn out that way. And something that is really good about the water agency is they give you that offer of improving on your job. Using something as a stepping stone into something else that you may be interested in doing. So from the accounting department, I did move up through the ranks. So my career path basically started in accounting, working basically with customers, but also learning the inner workings of DWA, which of course accounting is a huge inner working of any corporation or company. So learning that, working with customers, but again, using that as a stepping stone into then customer service or the administrative department, where I was able to work more closely with customers, and I kind of really found my niche. So that's something that I really enjoyed through the years. And again, given the room for advancement, I took advantage of it, worked hard for it, got what was needed in order to make those advancements. So from customer service, I then moved into public relations. Working with customers has been something that I have just really enjoyed during my tenure at DWA, and something I wanted to continue doing, but something that was more on more closely with customers. So from public relations, it wasn't a very big switch to go to outreach and conservation. We are somewhat the same, but it was an opportunity for me then to actually get into another part of outreach, which was conservation, which was becoming a very, very hot topic at the time that I was actually making that transition. But everything with my career path through DWA has been, they do offer the room for advancement. And that is something that you have to take advantage of that. Just some tips on career longevity that I've actually found is commitment and loyalty. If a company knows that you are committed and you are loyal to them, they're going to offer it to you. But again, you still do have to show that commitment and that loyalty in the job that you do. And all the tips that Chris and Steve touched on, very important in showing your commitment and your loyalty to a company. Also, like what you do. You can't expect to advance in careers if you're really not liking the environment or the place that you're at. So like what you do, I can honestly say honestly. For the past 31 years, there really hasn't been a time that I haven't really enjoyed going to work at Desert Water Agency. It's a team, as Chris and Steve have mentioned, and we all work very closely together. I feel like we are a family, but liking what you do, big important. Promotion is not necessarily longevity based. So my adage that I've kind of always stuck to is if you change nothing, nothing will change. You have to be willing for that change. You have to be open to learning new things, for growth in your area, learning new concepts. I'm not always, I'm a creature of habit. I'm not always up for lots of change, but I've had to adapt to that in order to make room for advancement in my career at DWA, and also taking on more responsibility. All those things, you show those things, this is a full circle. So being open to learning, more growth, more responsibility, taking on more responsibility kind of comes full circle, because then that company is going to see that you are committed to what it is that you're doing. You are loyal to it. Where you're working and who you're working for. And I am extremely blessed to have been hired by DWA. They've watched me grow up. I've watched them grow, and it's been an amazing experience to be working for them. So it is something that take these tips from both Steve and Chris and myself, and we would love to see new employees at Desert Water, and hopefully you can take some of this knowledge and apply and find another career path. So with that, that's kind of my presentation. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to put it in the Q&A. You can find it on the little ribbon down at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Also, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. We are going to, I think do we have any questions? Does anybody have anything that they want to mention possibly from their presentation that maybe might be a common question for our audience? Chris or Steve?
I can talk about one.
Okay, go ahead.
So one of the big questions I get is if water certification, water distribution, water treatment certification, a lot of our positions require it within 2 years of your hire. And so if you get it in advance, obviously that would give you a leg up on the competition for jobs. And the best way to get those is through the State Water Resources Control Board. And if Vicky or Sochi can put the link to their webpage in the comments or the Q&A section for you. And you can go on there, and they have study course materials and information on how to take the tests and what's required as minimum qualifications to take the test. So I highly recommend you look over those materials.
Thank you for that. And we will go ahead and put that in the chat for people to take a look at. Looks like we do have one question in the chat. Is there a specific age group desired for hire? Anybody want to answer that?
I'll take that one. The only requirement is that you have to be 18 or over because of the equipment that we use. And to drive our vehicles. But other than that, we don't look to any specific age group for any position.
Okay. All right. Steve, are there any questions that you are asked on a regular basis that maybe you can kind of, maybe it's a question in our audience that they're not asking?
I do get asked about internships, and we do offer internships at the agency. It's not often, but we do have them. And so if you're out there, I think we post those on our website also. And I would highly recommend, if you are interested, to give Chris, send her an email, ask her about the internships that we may offer. Typically, it's for people who are maybe in college at COD for the summer, who are looking to get a little experience at an agency. Maybe their engineering is their path that they're looking at, or accounting, and want to have a summer job. So that's one thing that I would highly recommend too.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, that's a good question, because I know I have been asked about an internship, I know, in our department. So yeah, that's a good point to make. We do have another question in the chat. Somebody is asking, how far back in years is needed to show employment on your employment history? So I think that might be a Chris question.
Yeah, usually most resumes you want to go back 10 years. The only exception that you would want to go longer is if it's related to the position. So for instance, if you had been working at an agency or in water or in working with electricity or pumping or something related to us, and then you decided to have your own business and do something for a while, and then you want to get back into it, then I would definitely include that related experience.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I know there was one thing that we did want to mention, is that even though I know we discussed this with Chris, is that even though we don't have anything open at this particular time, we don't have any positions. When there are positions that are available, as Chris noted in her presentation, they will be available on the website. So this is something that is giving tips to people who might be looking for a job at some point. And if they find something on our website, these are good tips to follow to apply. So I don't see any other questions. Again, we'll be putting, Sochi will be putting up a slide that will have our information. So if at any time you think of something that maybe you didn't put in the chat or you didn't put in the Q&A, and you'd like us to direct these questions to either Steve or Chris, or even Sochi or myself, there's our information. You can reach out to us at any time, and we'll be more than happy to get that information to you. So looking as though we don't have any other questions right now, I'm going to have Sochi go ahead and launch our wrap-up poll, just to kind of get an idea of what you may or may not have learned from this webinar, and hopefully everybody got something out of it. So there's your wrap-up poll. I hope everybody sees it there. Just a couple of quick questions, and we'll give you probably about a minute there to just answer them really quickly, and then we'll go over the results.
Vicky, so just wanted to mention, while people are filling this out, one of the questions, probably the biggest question I used to get when at public events is, are there any jobs available? And again, I would reiterate the job interest form. People go to our website and fill that out, so that you can be notified when a position does become available. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yes, that's very important. Then that way you are contacted if there is something that does come up in the field that you did show interest in, and hopefully that gives you a leg up. So I think we'll go ahead and show those results from the poll. I think that probably just a couple questions, that should have given everybody enough time. So, okay, the first question was, after this webinar, how likely are you to apply for or recommend a job at DWA? I'm happy to see that percentage of people that are more likely to either apply or recommend a job at DWA. It is, like I said, it's been a wonderful, wonderful place for employment and a career, and really, really blessed to be here. So I'm happy to see that number. And also, do you plan to fill out a job interest form? Great. Yes, we would love to see interest in all of the areas that we do have as departments, and happy to see that people are really interested in doing that. And we hope that you do take advantage of that. So with that, unless there are any other questions, I think we will probably end this, but we want to thank Chris, and we want to thank Steve for joining us and for doing their presentations. I think it was very, very informative, and a great outreach to the public, considering we can't be in person. So thank you guys so much for joining us and for presenting. And again, if anybody has any other questions that they didn't get to us today, you can always reach out to Sochi or myself at that contact information. But we want to thank everybody who attended, and glad we could connect with you this way. And we hope to see some of those applications.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe.